ahead. Oh, you're all set and rolling? Okay. Good evening and welcome to the December 17th, 2012 meeting of the VUHS number 6 board. And 3 seconds late.
30 seconds early you're starting.
Oh, well, I'm going by 40 time, so welcome. Ian and Russ a chance to sit down here. And here's Mike. Okay. So, first order of business, clerk's report, approval of the minutes. Our last meeting was December 3rd, and those minutes have been disseminated. I assume everybody's had a chance to look at them. Is there a motion?
Move the minutes of December 3rd.
Second.
Okay, looking by Tom. Is there any discussion, additions, corrections, deletions?
I had a question about the minutes, and I don't have them in front of me, but it's the section that was discussing the Career Center faculty being in the paper. I wonder if anyone reading these minutes would be burdened with curiosity as to why they were in the paper.
Sam Rowley and Dennis Hamilton.
Yes, and maybe that could just have a brief...
For their accomplishments.
A brief addition. For their accomplishments. I move to add for their accomplishments to the end of the sentence that reads teachers Sam Rowley and Dennis Hamilton in the Reformer.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay. So all in favor of that collaboration?
Aye.
Yeah, that's a good point. They were in there both for a positive reason.
Yes.
Okay, is there any other additions, deletions, corrections? If not, is there a motion to accept the minutes as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Abstentions? Everybody who's here now was here then, and no negatives. Okay. The minutes of December 3rd are accepted. Communications. Anybody have any communications? I do not. Anything else for the clerk's report? Okay. Recognition of groups. I don't see any visitors here other than the usual. And we'll introduce the student council rep is here, Lachlan Francis. Thank you very much. Also a member of the state school board. Okay. That's a pretty cool thing that we have a student member on the State Board of Education. And so far it's been rewarding, right?
Yes, so far.
So far, yeah. Great, well thank you. And we'll hear from you a little further along in the agenda. Okay, what I would like to do, Jim Kane is here to participate in the budget discussion, but I'd like to move that up to the next point in the agenda so that Jim doesn't have to sit through the rest of our discussion. He can get back on the icy roads up to New Hampshire. So we have a budget review tonight. For those of you who are not been involved specifically on the budget committee, there have been 7-8 meetings, I believe, regarding next year's budget. They've been reviewed by the Budget/Finance Committee numerous times, and they are now in the form that we will hopefully move ahead with tonight. We will vote as a board to move the budget on. As Jim will tell you, there are some unknowns, especially on the revenue side, and that's commonly the case. We never know all the numbers until right up to sometimes after the final minute. and so he'll review that with you a little bit. The Finance Committee, or the Budget Committee last week requested that after we reviewed the individual unit budgets and the student activity funds, district-wide and all that, we requested that administrators take another look, along with Ron and Jim, to see if we could find some areas to reduce the impact on the operating expense part of the budget. And the administrators went back at it again, had really put some work into it, and came back with a number that was where they were able to find some cost savings without doing damage to programs. And I think that's where you get the A in budgeting, if you can find a place to save a little bit without just hacking something. And so I want to congratulate them for a tremendous job of doing that. And we have what hopefully we all think is a responsible budget that can get passed on to the annual meeting. So everybody got a handout, I believe, of the budget. I'd just like to quickly go through the expense part, and then I'd like Jim to talk about the revenue side and straighten me out if I make any mistakes on the expense part. But on I believe it's the second page in, or the back of the front page of the big packet, is probably the easiest way to view this in a nutshell. The appropriation summary, and it's broken down into district-wide, senior high, the Career Center tuition, BAMS, and then the Career Center expense budget. And then down below are capital items and debt service. So after carefully pouring through the budget and working it over pretty thoroughly, the district, starting at the district-wide, is up 2.5%. There's some increase in there. If you look through the pages that support it, and we won't go through all of those pages, there are some increases in there. A few operations and maintenance is up. And I want to just comment on that, because if you notice down at the bottom, there is no request for a special article for capital, as there was last year with the grandstand project and the roof and so forth. This year, we have basically included it as operations and maintenance, part of our routine within the budget. And why is it up a little bit, the routine maintenance? Well, this new facility is now approaching, I believe, almost 10 years old when the first parts of it really went into operation. So we have a huge project that for the first few years, the maintenance and upkeep was fairly minimal because it was all in. Now we're starting to get to the point in the life of the facility that we have to start putting a little money in, and we want to do it in such a way that we're not deferring things and then getting all of a sudden years down the road and saying, well, the whole place is falling down around our ears. And I think that's the responsible way to do it. You will see that there's going to be a separate request to establish a what I call a roof and boiler fund, but it's, capital improvement fund that we do set aside some money each year. But in the meantime, there are things that do need to be accomplished with general upkeep, some flooring work. We need to be starting a painting program. We do some of that as time allows, and we're going to continue on that path for this year. And if you look at the capital page, plan page, you'll see that maybe in another year, then we'll get in a little deeper into that. That's, all that resides in the district-wide, and that district-wide budget is up 2.54%. In general, we need to remember that we do have a teacher's 3-year negotiated contract with the teachers that does call for some increase, and health insurance, which is assaulting every organization, is up. And what did we end up using for percent on that? 14% for health insurance, which is a big number. So, and that number appears through all of these various divisions: senior high, BAMS, career center, and district-wide. Senior high comes in with a increase of $159,000, 2.42%. The career center tuition is up quite a bit. One of our challenges with the career center is that we have a bigger and bigger percentage lately of kids from Brattleboro. We don't have as many sending towns students that helps that picture look better. We're not paying it all out of Brattleboro High School. So that is up. BAMS is actually, after some revisions, is down a few dollars, 9.19%, and the Career Center is up 4.2%. So the operating budget, as you can see in the outline boxed area, comes in at 25,225, and that's an increase of $686,000 or 2.8%. And given the amount that is built into this with salaries and insurance, I think that's pretty responsible. Most discretionary funds, and we reviewed them, the Budget Committee reviewed them basically with the administrators by department and even down to by line items in some cases, and the line has been held on discretionary items. So most of what's in here are things that you know, we have to be in there. So that's 2.8% overall increase on the operating budget. We do have something working in our benefit this year, is the debt service is down, and as is the track debt service. And last year we had $418,000, as you recall, a separate article that we voted on, which included the grandstand, the BAMS roof, some flooring, Kubota, a tractor, and there was one other item. But that was a special article for $418,000 that we are not, as I said, putting in the budget this year. So bottom line, total budget shows an increase of $356,000, which is 1.3%. So in light of what had to be in there for benefits and our contractual responsibilities, I think that's a pretty solid budget. And the Budget Committee / Finance Committee just voted in their meeting to pass this along to you, and we certainly have some time to answer any questions or any comments that anybody would make, and hopefully we can, as a group, agree tonight that this is a responsible budget that should be sent forth to town meeting, and if not, we'll keep working at it.
Does it have to be unanimous?
No.
And one other question, on the teacher's contract, if the insurance goes up, there's no provision in their contract that their cost of their part of their insurance doesn't go up every year. It's a fixed cost. Is that how it works?
It goes up. Percentage.
It's a percentage.
Because they do contribute.
Yes.
And the percentage in the past has increased, percentage that they contribute. Of course, the whole landscape is going to change dramatically after this year on health insurance. Really hard to figure out where that's going to take us. But the teachers are contributing to the health insurance. Is there, particularly from, yes, Ruth?
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the 2013-2014 proposed budget in the amount of $27,793. $27,793,424. Excuse me.
Okay, is there a second, so we can... Second.
Yes,
Oops, I
now
heard a
you can
bunch of
discuss
them.
it.
We'll do that one tonight. Okay, comments, questions? Must be something.
Are the colored tabs on the packets that we were given this evening denoting anything specific? Like, is there something there we're supposed to see that's different than it was in an earlier format?
Yeah, they're the departmental budgets. It's district-wide.
Oh, it's just a
Senior high,
breakdown.
system.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like looking. I was like, it looks like it's the beginning of the new thing, but
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was supposed to be denoting a specific.
It isn't on yours. On Bob's it was, but
Yeah, and I'm colorblind too, so
It's always fun.
Ask Ruth what color her tabs.
you're raising your hand but pointing at Sean.
I had a question, but it's
Yielding the
actually
floor
Sean's
to the
question.
gentleman from Guilford.
I yield the floor to the gentleman from Guilford.
Maybe I was mistaken, but I had written down that the actual adoption of the budget would happen on January 3rd. So, but this was
Yes, this is
information.
just a review for the board.
Yeah.
Informational
Yeah, you're right.
discussion, and then the board acts on it January 3rd, because there'll be other pieces between now and then. The equalized pupils will hopefully be finalized, and the numbers are just going to be adjusted a little bit.
So it'll be tighter numbers on the 3rd of January.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
And there will be an opportunity for the public to comment on that
There's
as
a
well.
public
There'll be
session
more
prior to
public
the board.
session, right.
so does that change Ruth's motion at all?
Yeah, I guess
She
you probably
should withdraw.
should.
Just forget I said anything.
But do we need to
Well, I'd like to have
vote
it
forward? Do we need to vote to move it forward?
Well, it's going to move forward to us anyway, but what I would like to see tonight is, if there's those of you who are not on the budget committee that I assume have have you received prior packets too? Did everybody receive the prior packets? I guess, well, Mike did. Russ? Ian?
I was there last time, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's been several iterations, so I guess we'd like to hear if there are concerns from the budget committee members.
Well, one line that jumped out is on page 8, under special ed. It was a drop of 55% on if I'm reading it right, substitutes, just based on actuals or
Page 8,
page 8
Under the
special
first tab.
education.
Yeah, okay.
on the first tab.
Under the first tab, each tab starts with new numbers? It does. Under the first tab. Is there something that's changed in terms of our expectations of what's... Because the budget was 23,630, actual was 24. This year it's 24. then next year it's 10,750.
Page 8, 3. Oh, under special ed.
If you go to page 7, there's also a substitute line,
Yeah,
and the actual for FY12 for subs there is 0. The actual on page 8, that section was almost 25,000. So this is to reflect between the two grades 7-12 mainstream program and the more intensive program at the high school, to allocate it more accurately.
I expected.
I didn't comment on the special ed part of, special education part of the budget, but that's another area where over recent years they've been really able to make some headway on reducing the cost, and it shows up in the tuition line primarily. $53,000 decrease, again, fewer out-of-district placements. That's a great job in that area.
What page?
Page 7.
That's on page 7.
Bob, I can send out the comparison that I gave the committee. It showed $1 million drop in expenses from FY8 to proposed FY14 budget for special ed.
That's pretty significant.
Is that just in tuition or across the categories?
Special education, all of it.
But probably a pretty good portion of that is tuition reduction, I would think. Good job for a big part of the budget. Mike, any?
No.
I don't put you on the spot, but
Well, you did. No, well,
I mean, if you have questions.
no, I was just wondering about the, I wasn't wondering about anything, but now that you asked me. The 400,000 that we put in for the tractor and all the facility
Yeah.
expense. So do we allocate that much again this year, but put it in another category, or we didn't allocate any?
No.
Okay.
There are some items
Okay. There's a list,
on this blue sheet.
yeah.
You said you put it it's under facilities or something.
If you look at the blue sheet, there are some things that Robert has requested that will go in under the maintenance and operations budget. One is the ADA remedial action, the things that we need to do there. Originally we thought that might be 20,000, but looking at it, we picked the priority things out of there that need to be done. The flooring and some outdoor equipment, and then air conditioning for the 2 computer labs, which are to the point of being almost unhealthy, as I understand, in their heat. So the total there is 150,000, but that's embedded in the operations and maintenance budget.
District-wide.
And district-wide, yes. And then you see what I alluded to before, the capital improvement reserve fund, that will be a separate article. Is that correct, Jim?
Yes.
Yeah. To start to set aside some money for that.
Even though the 418 was a one-time vote last annual meeting, I mean, other than the bleachers, the other items were maintenance items. And the bleacher was a one-time expense, $250,000. It's not the kind of thing you're going to be doing every 5, 10, 20 years. So.
And since we're on the blue sheet, as I mentioned before, the painting shows, this again is projected for the next fiscal year, that we'll pick up the pace on the painting program, and there's some money each year for floor work, because we have a huge square footage of floors, have to keep working at that.
Do you know the square footage offhand? Do you know the square footage offhand? I know we've talked about it many times in many meetings.
330,000, approximately.
And there's, how much is an acre, 40,000?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like 8 acres of floors. And roofs.
And that kitchen is in the high school.
Kitchen is shared between the high school and the middle school.
The items that are listed in terms of the planning outlook over the 5 years, you see we start to think a little bit about the wood chip plant. That's a big piece of equipment that has been in operation since 2004 now, so 8 or 9 years, and it's very mechanical, and we'll need to keep addressing that. Ian, any?
No, I'm good.
Let's see, who else was on the, Russ?
I don't think that's it.
We have everybody here, but no.
Robert, the press box, are we gonna do that like through fundraising? Is that was the intention?
Well, there's some initial, I understand there's some initial fundraising efforts.
All right, we're starting that now. We started some initial fundraising with local businesses. And then we have a couple other fundraising drives that we're going to do after that.
Is that a joint project with the Booster Club? Okay.
We're working on defining the boosters' role in that.
Yeah.
You know, we've kind of specified some activities that they want to be a part of.
Right, so they're part of it,
Right.
part of it, but not the full responsibility on there.
Exactly.
Yeah. And is there a goal, dollar-wise?
About 48,000
Yeah.
to get the press box that would serve the purposes that we need.
Yeah.
And it would be a plug and play, meaning it comes fully assembled. Right now the wiring is already out there. You know, when we built the grants, they put the wiring in place. So really we just have to put it in and hook up a few switches and it's good to go.
Are we hoping to have it for this upcoming fall season?
We're hoping for the fall season because we do have somebody who has offered to buy the old bleachers for scrap. And so, you know, we'll realize a little money from that. They're going to take those. And at this point, the buyer is going to actually come and disassemble them and take them away.
Be a great place to advertise a retail sports shop.
I suspect I'll probably have an opportunity.
I think the litter
Well, that'd be nice to have that for the fall season. Okay, so everybody has a packet. If there's anything that comes up, again, we have another bite at the apple coming up in January with a Warren public input session. And anything else, Jim, that you?
Just on the revenue
side, yeah.
revenue side, local revenues, we're projecting that tuition revenue will increase. There's also going to be a refund on the bond next fiscal year of almost $44,000. Sub-grants, which come into the supervisory union via the state of Vermont, will be decreasing. The projection is federal funding is going down. It's kind of a educated guess at this point how much they'll decrease. Federal education jobs funding, we had more than $300,000 over the past 2 years, which supported the high school, middle school, and career center. And those funds are no longer there. Taxes, on the yellow handout, there's a duplex sheet. On page 2, there's a middle of the bottom of the page. There's a 2 on that page. It shows the 5 towns in the middle The darkened section shows the common levels of appraisal. Those were published by the state of Vermont. They just came out recently. The projected residential tax rates for FY14 are listed. And then if you drop down, the other highlighted line shows the projected increase from FY13 to FY14 by town. That's based on a 91-cent residential tax rate, also base education payment amount of $88.97. Those are subject to change, and for the January 3rd meeting, they probably won't be any different, but there could be something different for the annual meeting for the vote, or even later. And as you can see across the 5 towns, there's a projected increase of 3.5 cents for Brattleboro, 3.4 cents for Dummerston, Guilford, almost a penny decrease, Putney, 8-cent plus decrease. A lot of that relating to the increase in the common level of appraisal in Putney. And then Vernon's increase is a little under 3/4 cent. One other thing before the board vote on the budget. The equalized pupils, grades 7-12, as well as the Career Center numbers should be finalized between Christmas and New Year's. And I'll put whatever changes I get into the mix and rehash the summary and the numbers. And I've heard, as I mentioned, 91 cents on the residential tax. I've heard anywhere from 91 to 94 cents. So I was kind of trying to play the optimist in this projection.
So equalized pupils will be a known number by the 3rd when we...
Yes, for both the Career Center and the regular education counts.
Okay. Yes, Ruth?
Is this the time you would like my motion on retirement?
Oh, yes,
All right.
you can do that. Yeah, I wasn't quite sure whether you were going to move the whole budget.
Can I just ask one quick, the student activity fund handout, is that wrapped up with this? Or?
Yeah, that's in, how does that show in here?
There's
transfer.
Yeah, there's a line for the 3 schools. Senior high has a line for student activity subsidy support, BAMS, and the Career Center. And that money flows into the student activity fund. Proposed increase for FY14 is a little under 0.5%. $1,383 on a $303,000 budget. That's just informational.
Okay.
All right. I move that we offer a one-time retirement incentive for up to 10 faculty members for the FY13 year only, and that we revisit this in FY15.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All right. And you can jump in on this if you want. We have offered this program in the past, what, three years?
This will be the 3rd year.
This would be the 3rd year. And what we would like to have the board's approval is to continue it this year. However, we say we want to revisit it in 2015 because that doesn't mean that this is an ongoing and just every year we, rubber stamp it and move it on. But we felt that it is appropriate for this coming year and up to 10, which I think is the same number we've used generally in the
Yes.
past, isn't it?
Yes.
10. So Are there thoughts or comments about that?
Can I just ask, it was, this is for the fiscal year 2013 only, to be revisited in 2014?
15.
Okay.
No, that was by, and that does not necessarily preclude automatically anything changing next year, but what we're saying is this is not this is an ongoing annual program, but we want to continue it for this coming year.
Ultimately, I assume it's going to save money, but I would like to know if you could just explain it. Who gets it, how much?
Well, we've had, you know probably the numbers of how many have accepted it.
Yeah, it's right around 17 staff over the past 2 years. And there's a minimum age requirement, years of service. It opens up and it's first come, first serve, the first 10. They elect the early retirement incentive. They receive 25% of their annual pay, salary, for 2 years, each of 2 years. And the rationale being that the district will hopefully break even, no worse than break even in the first 2 years when the incentive is being paid out. And in the third year, with hiring newer staff, you start to reap some savings. And I think Steve, Ingrid, and Dave maybe want to chime in on it. There are other positives that I can't specify, but
I think we actually increased the projected savings for each of those, the prior 2 years that we thought it would be.
We did better than we
did better than the
planned.
projection.
And it seems like it's been helpful, definitely helpful, and we've, sometimes you hate to see somebody leave, but on the other hand, it's an opportunity for someone else and an opportunity for somebody that was probably close to ready to go to maybe take a step a little bit earlier. But we've done quite well overall with the savings and feel that it's appropriate to do it for this coming 2013.
So a teacher at the top would be roughly around 60, 70? That'd be about, they get 17,000 a year. And then your new teacher would be 20, 30, 32?
Depending, it'd be around 30, 32, about 30 or 32.
That's 47 the first year, so you're ahead of the game the first year almost, right?
32. There aren't any teachers here that think 32.
No, it's higher than that.
You're up at 37.
New hires.
Yeah. I mean, the difference too is on the health plan. Somebody taking retirement can be single or two-person normally. Somebody coming in, a lot of times they may be a single. It's a lot less inexpensive. And then the pay differential. So, it has worked out. Historically, the first 2 years, you do no worse than break even. And part of the reason the overall budget increase for FY14 isn't as high as it would be otherwise is because of the impact of the buyouts we've had already. So,
Yeah, it seems like you could, after minimum 2 years, you'd be.
yeah.
And it's saving, and it continues. I mean, we'll continue to gain for a lot of years, till obviously till the new person, I guess, gets up to the top
Yeah,
of the heap. But
what we
that's
did-
quite a ways.
In the past, the board offered it, and it was 20% in full health. And the fact of the matter is, retirees in the Vermont system can get into the health plan through teacher's retirement. So the board opted to go to the 25% of the pay.
I just have a question, not related to budget part of it, but related to it seems like every spring we are getting down to the minimum occasionally in some places trying to hire teachers. Like we've always filled the spots, but it seems like we're like some positions are getting harder and harder to fill, and I'm concerned about us being able to find good. I mean, we've always done well with getting good quality people, and we attract good quality people, but my concern is if we continue to do this, that we're gonna the pool of good quality people is going to start to run out. And we've gotten some good quality people in who haven't stayed, who have moved on. And so I'm concerned about it from the educational standpoint of getting good quality people in. I don't know what to do about that because I think that the budget saving is really helpful, but I just want to make that clear that it's like at some point this will be beneficial financially but not beneficial educationally. And that's my concern.
Well, these people are within a few years of retiring, so you're going to have to replace them within a few years anyway.
Yes, but they necessarily aren't. But if we didn't offer this, would we actually have 10 retirements out of BUHS number 6 in 1 year?
We might.
Do you think?
First of all, I doubt that it's likely we're going to fill all 10 of these early retiree slots.
Yeah, I don't think we have had full.
Yeah, I doubt that. Secondly, the last round of negotiations was designed to increase that lower salary in order for us to be more attractive and competitive out there, and I think there was success in that. So I'm personally not worried. I don't know that BAMS will have anybody who will want to take advantage of this early incentive this year. I don't know how many career center
I mean, I think we'll have a few, but I think the other piece of it is when you're looking at where teacher shortages are, they're in specific disciplines. So you're not going to have that teacher shortage, say, in English or social studies.
Right.
Whenever we've had those openings, we've had pretty robust applicants for that. It's specifically in math that's a challenging place for us to hire. And, I think we've done a good job of finding quality people, but I think you're right, we do have to dig kind of deep, and we do have to really cast a wider net to find applicants than we do for other areas. But I think if somebody retires in 2015 or 14, I think you're still going to have that same challenge.
I just didn't want us to cut off our nose to spite our faces at this point.
The other benefit I see, and it has nothing to do with us, but I talked to the folks that have taken the buyout that have retired, and more than one of them has said it's really given them a little bit of confidence to go out knowing they have some financial cushion, so to speak, so they can actually go out and start doing something new. And just last week I was talking to 3 or 4 retirees, and they're all pretty happy with what they've chosen to do, even if it is granola. That's what I hear.
No idea what you're talking about.
Again,
I think it's an incentive that actually benefits all parties if done thoughtfully, because it's something that is an advantage to the professional teacher and also an advantage to the district. And if it, as Ruth said, if it was going to happen shortly anyway. And I think that was one of the important reasons that was brought up, because it is key to the budget in some respects, not specifically, but it is key to the budget in some respects. And the other is that it would be important to get it out there that we are going to revisit it next year.
A year.
So, it may take us back next year, so that everybody can plan accordingly. So it's not something all of a sudden that people feel as if the rug is pulled out from under them.
And just to put my 2 cents worth in, that's what we do. I think it's important in an educational environment to have a healthy balance of seasoned educators and people who are just starting out in their career, whether it be a second career, a first career, or whatnot. And that's all I'll say about that.
Ian?
I'm unclear on the reason why we're skipping 2014.
Well, the feeling is that we've done it 3 years in a row, and we're saying we'd like to do it again, but we don't want to have it become kind of an automatic past practice. We do it every year. You know, the environment could change and the board could change their mind in 2014, theoretically, and rescind it, you know, but that way it makes sure that we do look at it periodically, but we would not set up the expectation that it would happen in 2014. Any other questions, comments? Okay. Are we ready to vote?
I think I didn't get the second.
Who seconded the motion?
I think I did.
Okay. All right.
To recap, since we've had a lot of discussion, we actually are voting on the motion to have the incentives in place for 13 and 14.
13 to
Oh,
14.
13 to 14. Right, where's the ensuing
The current fiscal year.
current fiscal year?
Right.
Yes, thank you.
Right.
The fiscal year that we're in 12, 13, right?
You're in fiscal year 13.
13.
They have to declare in this fiscal year.
Okay.
The office will, you know, there's a short window of time where they have to elect.
Something
To
to,
opt.
when's the contractual time when they need to notify of intention to retire? Is that in January?
That's January, yeah.
So this would be prior to that then?
It would be close, I don't know. Historically, I think the cutoff has happened, what, around?
Around that, yeah, right around that, yeah.
Yeah, around the 15th.
And notification will go out almost immediately, right? I mean,
Yes.
that it's available.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Any other questions or comments? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? It's unanimous. Okay. So that was a significant detour into the budget, but important. So we move on to consent agenda.
I move the consent agenda.
Second.
You move to go into consent agenda?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And second by Ruth? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? None. We're in the consent agenda, and we'll start with, thank you, Jim, by the way, finance report.
Okay, the Finance Committee met on December 5th, and we approved warrants numbers 1097, 1098, 1101, 1102, 1103, 1104, and 1105, for a total of $477,551.11. We also authorized payrolls November 2nd in the amount of $488,087.87. November 16th, $591,942.55. And November 30th, $494,306.39.
Okay. Anything else? Next meeting is
The
Wednesday,
next meeting will
At
be
7 a.m.
Wednesday, the
17th, or
19th.
rather, today's the 17th.
at 7 a.m.
in central office.
Yes.
All are welcome.
What's that?
All are welcome.
Misery loves company, huh, Mark?
Asian Center.
Okay. Planning and policy.
Has not met since our last meeting. We will have policies for adoption that we'll be going over under old business and some new ones coming along for first reading, which I'll present under new business.
Okay. Teacher curriculum.
Has not met since our last meeting.
BAMS committee.
Also has not met since our last meeting.
WRCC.
Also has not missed this our last meeting.
Okay.
We have been occupied with the budget.
Well, yes, there have been plenty of meetings, mostly budget related. Okay, I believe that's it for that. Okay, is there a motion to accept consent?
So moved.
Section.
Mickey and Lori? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Administrative reports. This is always my fun part because I get to choose. Let's let Mr. Francis go first. I kind of introduced him. Unless Steve, you wanted to.
No, I think Lachlan's...
Student council representative. What's going on?
Well, so far, student council's been focusing primarily on Project Feed the Thousands. To start the year, we changed our goal system coming into this year. We used to have, last year and all the years that I can recall, the goal was always wherever the year was in food items plus cash donations. This year we changed it up a little bit. We were shooting for 2012 food items plus $1,122, which is $1 for every person in the building every single day at BHS. So the way the organization counts money is that 4 food items equates to $1. I guess that's $1 equals 4 ramen. I'm not exactly sure how to reach that point. But so we're having a little bit of trouble reaching our food item goal because in the past we've always gotten around 1,300 food items and then $500, which is, when you plug that in, puts her over our goal. This year we've already met our financial goal. We've already exceeded $1,122. We are laboring to hit our food goal by this Friday, which is our final day, but by the end of the drive we will have collected substantially more food and money than any year in the past, regardless of whether or not we hit our goal, so that is always good.
Great. It's a big overall project, and participation by VOHS is a key piece of it. Thank you. Move up the line. BAMS.
We are also in the midst of our Feed the Thousands campaign. We had an assembly last week and we're moving forward with our efforts as well. It's always, for me, a very delicate matter because so many of the children in our audience, when we have our assemblies, are the very ones who benefit from our donations. And I feel that personally, that we are asking them to contribute and they then become the recipients. It's a balance. It's definitely a delicate balance, knowing how to present it, what to say. I will say that since the news at Sandy Hook on Friday, really since Friday, we were sitting in this room in an administrative all-day meeting, and that meeting was suspended early so that we could return to our respective buildings and communicate with staff, which we did, I believe, and think about how to process that matter in our respective schools. For me, I sent home an alert now message Friday afternoon to parents, with the focus being on not so much apprising them of what had happened, because at that point most were aware, but reinforcing that when something like that happens in one school in this country, it impacts every school in this country, and that it causes us to once again revisit our own safety procedures, always with the goal being to keep our children and faculty safe. And I try to reassure families that is in fact what we are doing and will continue to do. For us, that continued this morning. We had a staff meeting, an emergency staff meeting before students even entered the building. Once again, reminded ourselves of the safety procedures that we do have, with an effort to be even more vigilant, to talk with kids, to give kids an opening to talk about their feelings, whatever they were feeling. I came across an article published by the National Association of School Psychologists, which I thought was a very poignant article about how to talk to kids when something like this happens. And today I actually mailed home a copy of that article to families too, because when something like this happens, it becomes very difficult to know what to say when. And I felt that article gave us a lot of very good guidance. This guy next to me here, Steve, may also pick up on this and talk about it, but our safety coordinator, Jessie Hall, met with the other safety officers last Friday to look at our current procedures and to make recommendations to us about enhanced safety procedures we may want to consider. I know that we're going to take that up as an administrative team and take a look at those. So we are once again on high alert and very vigilant of what we do have in place, and will continue to be so. Today, Chief Rinn deployed several of his officers to come to the Brattleboro Town Schools, and Officer Ryan Washburn spent a good part of his day at BAMS, walking around. I took him around for a while, introduced him to kids and into classrooms, and then he came to our lunches, sat with the kids in lunches. He even earned a BAMS buck for himself, so he can spend that whatever way he wants. But it was a wonderful thing. I know there were officers at Academy and Oak Grove and Green Street School, but there was a great deal of comfort that came when he walked into the building and said, Chief Rinn sent me over to just spend some time here today, and that was very much appreciated. I tried to send Chief Rinn an email today thanking him for that, but our own first-class system has a bit of a malfunction in it right now, and we can't send or receive outgoing emails. It'll get fixed tomorrow, we hope. So he didn't get the email that I sent him, but I wanted to thank him and Officer Washburn for being a presence. I feel like it brought a great deal of comfort to everybody, But it's a very sobering event once again. As horrific as it is, it reminds us of the fact that it's very hard to take, to acknowledge the violence committed against children and teachers. And the stories coming out of this are just truly amazing. The courage of the teachers, the principal, involved in this. It's unbelievable. So, I'm sorry to end on a kind of a sad note, but we've really been pretty consumed with this since Friday, since learning of it. Thinking about, have we done enough? What more can we do? And trying to do it.
Thank you. Mr. Perrin?
Sure. Our TV production class has been extremely busy lately. It's now being taught by Karen Rawazi and Allison Cram. And they visited BC TV Studios on December 5th to kind of talk about what our partnership with BC TV is and where it can go in the future. And students had a great time visiting, a bigger studio than ours. They really enjoyed that. And then on December 12th, we had Tim Johnson and Steve Cormier from WTSA. They came over to talk to us about internship opportunities at TSA for our students to go over and do an unpaid internship and work with Tim and Steve in the newsroom. And that was exciting to see, too. Our students are very excited with the idea of being involved in media and news production. Our foods class has been working with the UVM Extension Garden up the street, and they've actually been providing yellow and green beans and sweet potatoes to the cafeteria, kind of help them understand where their food comes from and to see that vegetables do come out of the ground. And never knew. We also, I'm really excited about this. We have a team of students that are going to be competing in the Junior Iron Chef in Burlington in February. They just got their time slot and their recipe approved. I'm not sure what it is, but I always like that team practice. A good one to go watch. Last Friday, 2 Fridays ago, we had our Poetry Out Loud competition. It's the local version of a national competition, and we're pleased to announce that Maya Gilmore will go on and represent VOHS. In that competition, students choose one of several poems that suit their presentation style and genre. They memorize that poem, and then they present it to an audience in our auditorium. And I have to give Nancy Olson a lot of credit. She put the word out to teachers and said, "You want to bring your class down to watch this? Have them come on down." We had a nearly full auditorium to watch that and to watch these kids. They were all wonderful, and it wasn't like when we were in school and they would all do the same poem, so that was kind of fun. And I don't think I heard a repeat of any poem, so that was great to see. Like Ingrid, Friday and today were pretty tough and somber days. We also had a staff meeting this morning. We also met with our counselors to talk about working with students and working with families that present with some distress about the event Friday at Sandy Hook. And our meeting this morning with staff really focused on two things. It focused on, first and foremost, how do we discuss this issue with students, and how do we talk to young adults about it. And we spent some time talking about that. My conversations with students have been somber, but the students are very reflective, and they're very concerned about the community of Newtown. I asked them how safe do they feel, and some of them say, most days I feel really safe, and that was heartening to hear. The other piece with our faculty is we talked about our current protocols, what our expectations are for staff, and to have the staff really be vigilant and understand that they are in every classroom, and they are the people that usually bring things to us that we can actually act on. And we also talked about evaluating what we're doing now and really asking ourselves, are we doing, with our current resources and with our current protocols, are they sufficient? And what do we as a staff need to really do to help improve safety? So that was it. And at the end, I'd like a quick executive session.
Okay.
None of that.
All right. Dave?
Well, certainly the events in Connecticut have affected us all, and I don't really have an awful lot more to add to what I've already heard. It certainly has affected our schools, and it's something we're going to continue to review our security as we go along. The only other big news is the Career Center's part in the Project Feed the Thousands is always to pick up the food. So on Friday, our crews will be going around to all of our area schools, picking up the booty, as it were, and bringing it over to Hannaford for their final wrap-up project there.
Okay.
One thing I forgot to mention, as far as what the state board and the department are doing in relationship to the whole Sandy Hook event, the state sent some documents from the National Child Traumatic Stress Network to every school, I believe, today. I don't know if you guys got it. In counseling departments about how to deal with students. I'd assume we have a meeting tomorrow. I'd assume it's safe to say there will be some legislation type stuff discussed about how can this possibly be prevented in our school. If you look at a profile of Newtown, Connecticut, it is not all too different from towns in Vermont. So I'd expect that to dominate our discussion in the near future. And I don't know where that will lead, but I'll be more than happy to fill you guys in on that. And also on a less somber note, I and Tom Yon of the Career Center, as well as Diane Heilman and Ron Staley, met with Governor Shumlin last week to talk collegiate high school, and the governor gave us the impression that he plans on moving collegiate high school as a statewide program under the state college system to start, hopefully, this legislative session from the governor's office as opposed to the House representatives themselves. So hopefully that will come to fruition.
So we're setting the example.
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Okay, let's see, we don't have central office. Board chair, I would just report that along the lines of the issue in Connecticut, PSBA did put out some information suggestions today, and basically their suggestions as it applies to school boards is that we be discussing with our administrators what our programs are, and if there's anything positive in this, it's an opportunity to take a look again and make sure that we're doing everything we can. I think we've been kept up to speed pretty well. We have a fairly new facility here, and when all those big changes were made, there was a lot of things that were related to security. It's probably impossible to say you can totally stop this type of activity, but their suggestion was that we have a dialogue with administrators, make sure that we're comfortable. And if there is, or you hear concerns from within the community, questions about what our programs are, I'm sure we can get the answers back to people. But I'm quite comfortable that we're doing the best we can. Again, as somebody said, within our resources to make it a safe place for both the students and staff. But it's always a chance to re-examine things, make sure we've plugged all the holes that we can. So.
Could I add something to that?
Certainly.
Yeah, I've had the privilege of being on boards, town board and this board for 10 years or so now. And one thing that's always impressed me about this school, because it's a Sandy Hook was really very upsetting on several levels, and everyone I think did this soul searching. What can we do? And there's guns, there's mental health, there's all sorts of things. But I've been so impressed over the years as to the dedication of people working in the schools for the welfare of the students and also the families. And it ranges from central office of Ron and Jim talks a lot about educational, what's good for the kids as well, to the principals at the elementary schools here, and EES, the executive director there, just the concern that they have for the students and for the families. And there's been a lot of emphasis on bringing in the families because it's a complex societal issue. And then obviously the teachers, janitorial staff, crossing guards. It's across the line. I could just name dozens and dozens of people I've had conversations with, where they're, about particular students or whatever, where the concern is so real and palpable for the kids and for their family. And it's not that there's not more that can and should be done in watching out for kids in particular needs, and you've addressed that tonight too, about making sure that you can identify as best we can. But I just wanted to say that I've been really impressed over the years as to the dedication of everyone that's been working in the school system.
Well, and the landscape has changed over the years. There's no question about it. Some people maybe in our generation wonder why we have to have all these cameras and security people and so forth. But back in the day, doors were wide open and people came and went as they pleased. And not to say there was never any of these things happen, but I heard a statistic today that of the 12, I think it was the 12 biggest events like this in terms of brutal behavior that have happened over the years in U.S. schools, half of them have been within the last 5 years. And that's not to scare anybody even more or make it sound worse, but it is. It's a changed society.
And it's not just in terms of the sort of that type of safety, but it's also in terms of the support. And as government has cut back on support,
right.
At all the schools, we brought in more counselors, more psychological psychologists, and those sorts of things, and really trying to. The schools are taking more and more of a role as almost a facility of last resort to make sure that families and kids in need get connected with the available programs and resources that are out there. And Feed the Thousands, which you've been doing for years, is just one example.
Okay, well, not pleasant stuff to talk about, but important. Lori?
I just wanted to let the board know, I don't think everyone was at the SU meeting last week, that the SU adopted the SU budget. I don't know if that's something that we normally bring back and share.
Well, Ron might have done that under his central office report, but thank you for passing that along.
And those numbers were in the budget district-wide.
Yeah, the SESU assessment, which went up a little bit, but be expected. Okay, I believe that's it for administrative reports. We'll move on to unfinished business. Item A is policies. This would be the ones that were previously have been adopted by the SESU board and are ready and have been through 2 readings. Is that correct?
Yes.
They're up for adoption. So take it away, Ian.
But we have 4 policies that are up for adoption. And as you said, we've already gone through all these twice, so I'll just go through and do a motion on each. I move that we adopt policy E1, fiscal management and general financial accountability.
Second.
Second by Lori. Okay. Any discussion? Been through it a couple of times. Okay. If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? None? It's unanimous. Okay.
I move that we adopt as written E12, electronic communications use and retention.
Second.
Simultaneous seconds, Ricky and Mike. Okay, any discussion on that? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed or abstentions? It's unanimous. Okay, next.
I move that we adopt as written policy F15, student publications.
Second.
Ready for the second? Okay, any further discussion, questions? Okay, not all in favor of adopting F15?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? None? Okay. And last but not least in that group.
I move that we adopt as written, policy F22, student assessment.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion on that? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? None? Okay, it's unanimous. Okay, so...
And we are still waiting to hear back more on policy F5, so we're not ready to move forward on that one.
So the committee will discuss that further before it comes back to us? Okay. All right, that's it for unfinished business. We move on to new business. We've already discussed the FY14. And we move back into policies again.
We have 5 new policies that are here for first reading, which everyone should have received. E10, school crisis prevention and response. F4, searches, seizures, and interrogation of students by school personnel. F17, 18-year-old students. F18, age of attendance. And G10, special education. Planning and policy will be discussing these in detail at our next meeting. I expect that especially F4, searches and seizures, interrogations by school personnel, may have some discussion. I would very much like to invite anybody that has opinions on that to come to the planning and policy meeting.
Which is going to be...
hopefully before the January 3rd meeting, unless there's other meetings that occupy that time slot.
Well, the January 3rd meeting does start at a earlier time, I believe. Maybe not.
It's 6 o'clock. We have a budget meeting.
Yeah. Public budget review at 6 o'clock. That is a Thursday. So it would be, if you have it, you would want to have it at 5 or probably.
Yeah, probably 5, because I think we're going to have some discussions on that one, would be my guess. So yeah, let's set it for 5 o'clock that day.
Okay.
And the regular meeting's at 6:30 on the 3rd?
Well, the regular meeting will be subsequent to the public session without a start time certain. That way, if we're done with the public meeting, there's no further questions, we don't have to sit around, we can move right into the regular meeting. So that was done purposefully.
And it says on my minutes, previously adopted by the WSES board, 12/11/12.
Yes.
What's that mean?
Well, we get the policies after the WSESU board adopts them.
Okay, so
they then come out to us.
Okay.
Because we adopted those last week, was it?
Oh, yeah, 12/11.
And most of these work their way down through, and then there are a few what's called LDPs, or local board policies, that individual boards may have, but many of them are kind of work their way down. Somebody have a... Yeah.
I have a question. Ian, are you in touch with the Vermont School Board attorney relative to these model policies?
I can contact, well, we have a legal contact through the VSBA that I can contact if we have questions.
Well, I have a question on F4, search and seizure. It's under the heading searches and seizures of student and student property. It's on page 1.
Yes.
So that first paragraph, searches of students' persons, personal effects, and vehicles may be conducted where there are reasonable grounds for suspecting at the time of initiating the search that the search will reveal evidence of a violation of law or of school rules. I would like to know if that then allows us to look at student cell phones. If we have reasonable grounds to suspect that there is some violation of a law or school rules without securing a search warrant.
I will find that out.
Technology introduces some new twists in policy.
Sure does.
We didn't have to worry much about that, did we? We were getting our cell phone.
My cell phone didn't work very well. I don't know about yours.
Okay, so those are the policies that have had their first reading. And then remaining under new business is my homework check. The SBA self-assessment survey and superintendent evaluation. Both of those are due. I have had some pressed into me here. There's some more coming. Wonderful. Everybody did their homework. Thank you. All right, we will pass them along. They will be compiled, and we will get back to you with the compilations. All right, I believe there is a request for an executive session on personnel. Okay, is there?
I move we go into executive session to discuss personnel.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Opposed or abstentions? None? Shall we move into the...
No, you guys can, I'll leave. And
I'm sitting on the other
Okay, we're out of executive session at 8:08 p.m. and as a result of the executive session, there is no action that the board needs to take at this particular time. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Thank you.